Look, I've done a lot of dirty jobs. I've been in places where a single wrong move could mean a trip to the emergency room, or worse. And what I've learned is that safety isn't just about wearing the right gear or following a checklist someone handed you years ago. It's about what's going on between your ears. Critical thinking is the most important tool you can bring to any job site. It's the voice in your head that asks, wait a minute, is this really the best way to do this? It's about not just following the rules, but understanding why the rules are there in the first place. This kind of thinking keeps you alive and in one piece. It's easy to get into a routine. You do the same task every day, the same way, and nothing bad has happened yet. So you stop thinking. That's the danger zone. That's when you hear the dreaded words, "We've always done it this way." Critical thinking is the antidote to that kind of complacency. It's about looking at a familiar situation with fresh eyes. Maybe you see a coworker rushing to finish a job before lunch. Instead of just watching, you recognize that speed often leads to mistakes. Rushing is a hazard, plain and simple. Questioning these old, unsafe habits isn't about being difficult. It's about being smart and looking out for your crew. Let's say you need to move a heavy piece of equipment across the workshop. The old way was to just get a few guys to muscle it over. But this time, someone stops and says, "Hold on. What if someone's back gives out? What if it slips and crushes a foot?" That's critical thinking in action. That person is looking past the immediate task and seeing the potential for disaster. They're not just a worker, they're a problem solver. They might suggest using a dolly or a small forklift, a solution that takes a few extra minutes but eliminates almost all the risk. That simple pause, that one question, can be the difference between a smooth day and a life-altering injury. So critical thinking and safety is really about being an active participant in your own survival. It's about challenging the status quo when it looks shaky. It's about noticing the little things like a frayed electrical cord or a wobbly ladder before they become big problems. It's about understanding that every job site is a dynamic environment, constantly changing. Just because something was safe yesterday doesn't mean it's safe today. A puddle on the floor, a new guy who doesn't know the ropes, these are all new variables. You have to stay engaged, stay curious, and never ever turn your brain off just because you clocked in. If critical thinking is the mindset, then risk assessment is the game plan. It's a formal way of doing what we just talked about, stopping, looking, and thinking before you act. It sounds complicated, but it's really just 5 common sense steps. First, you have to identify the hazards. A hazard is anything that has the potential to cause harm. Think of it as a treasure hunt for trouble. Walk around the work area and look for things like exposed wires, slippery floors, unguarded machines, loud noises, or even a stressed-out coworker. You need to be thorough and write it all down. Don't assume anything is too small or too obvious to be a real threat. Once you have your list of hazards, the second step is to figure out who might be harmed and how. It's not always just the person doing the job. Could a visitor be at risk? What about the cleaning crew that comes in after hours? Think about the different ways people could get hurt. Someone could slip on a wet floor, breathe in harmful dust, or get their hand caught in a machine. This step helps you understand the real-world consequences of each hazard you identified. It makes the danger personal and specific, which is crucial for figuring out how serious it is and what you need to do next to protect people. Step 3 is to evaluate the risks and decide on precautions. This is where you have to think about how likely it is that something will go wrong and how bad it would be if it did. A little water spill on the floor is very likely to cause a slip, but the injury might just be a bruise. An unprotected high-voltage line might be less likely to be touched, but if it is, it could be fatal. You weigh these things out. Then, you decide what to do about it. The best solution is always to get rid of the hazard completely. If you can't do that, you find ways to control it. Put up a guard, improve ventilation, or require protective gear. The final 2 steps are about action and review. Step 4 is to record your findings and implement them. This means writing down what you found, what you decided to do, and then actually doing it. This creates a record that you can share with the whole team. It ensures everyone is on the same page and the safety improvements get made. The 5th and final step is to review your assessment and update it if necessary. Things change. You bring in new equipment, new people join the team, or you learn a better way to do something. Your risk assessment isn't a one-and-done document. It's a living thing that you should revisit regularly to make sure it's still keeping people safe. Our brains are powerful, but they're not perfect. They take shortcuts to help us get through the day, and sometimes those shortcuts lead us straight into danger. These mental mistakes are called cognitive biases, and they can make us blind to obvious risks. One of the most common is optimism bias, the belief that bad things happen to other people, not to us. You might see someone else get hurt doing something risky and think, "That's a shame, but I'm more careful. It won't happen to me." This kind of thinking is a trap. It makes you feel invincible and encourages you to take chances you shouldn't. Another dangerous one is confirmation bias. This is our tendency to look for information that confirms what we already believe and to ignore information that challenges it. If you believe a particular shortcut is safe because you've used it 100 times, you'll focus on the fact that you were fine every time. You'll ignore the near misses, the close calls, or the safety bulletin that warns against that very shortcut. To fight this, you have to actively seek out different opinions. Ask someone who isn't familiar with the job to take a look. They might see the danger you've been ignoring for years because they don't have the same bias. To counteract these mental traps, we need practical tools. A risk matrix is a great one. It's a simple chart that helps you visualize risk. On one side, you have the likelihood of an accident happening, from rare to very likely. On the other, you have the severity of the injury, from minor to fatal. By plotting where a hazard falls on the chart, you get a clear, color-coded picture of how serious the risk is. It takes the guesswork and personal feelings out of it. Another tool is a bow tie analysis, which helps you map out the causes and consequences of an event and see where your safety barriers are. The best way to get good at this is to practice. Teams can run simple exercises like what-if sessions. You get together and brainstorm all the things that could go wrong with a particular job. What if the power goes out? What if this hose bursts? What if the new guy misunderstands the instructions? These sessions force everyone to think critically and anticipate problems. Another great exercise is running safety drills for different scenarios. It's one thing to talk about what to do in an emergency. It's another to actually practice it. These drills build muscle memory so that when something real happens, people react correctly instead of panicking. A truly safe workplace isn't built on rules and posters alone. It's built on a culture where every single person, from the CEO in the corner office to the apprentice sweeping the floor, feels responsible for safety. This kind of culture starts with leadership. Supervisors and managers have to do more than just enforce rules. They have to lead by example. If a supervisor cuts corners or looks the other way when someone is working unsafely, they send a clear message production is more important than people. But when a leader stops a job to address a safety concern, they send an even more powerful message. Your well-being comes first. Leaders can foster this culture by creating an environment where it's safe to speak up. Workers on the front lines are the experts on their jobs. They know the hidden dangers and the unofficial workarounds. They need to feel empowered to pause a job and say, "I'm not comfortable with this," without fear of being disciplined or ridiculed. A good supervisor will listen to that concern, thank the worker for bringing it up, and work with the team to find a safer solution. This creates a cycle of trust and continuous improvement. When people know their voices are heard, they are more likely to stay engaged and point out risks before they cause an accident. When this chain of critical thinking breaks down, the consequences can be catastrophic. We all saw what happened with the Deepwater Horizon oil rig in 2010. This wasn't just one mistake, it was a long series of them. Decisions were made based on saving time and money, not on safety. Multiple warning signs and failed tests on the well's cement and safety equipment were ignored or explained away. People were under immense pressure to finish the project, and that pressure led to a cascade of bad judgments. The team suffered from confirmation bias, believing the well was secure despite evidence to the contrary. No one was empowered enough to hit the brakes. The result was a horrific explosion that took 11 lives and caused one of the worst environmental disasters in history. The key lesson from Deepwater Horizon is devastatingly simple. No schedule or budget is more important than listening to the warning signs. When the data tells you something is wrong, you have to stop and think. You have to question assumptions, even when it's inconvenient. A culture that punishes bad news or prioritizes speed over caution is a culture that is doomed to fail. In the end, workplace safety comes down to combining good information with careful, critical thought. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to think about it.